Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Offsides, the unofficial official podcast of Charlotte Football Club. I am your host, Andre Sorbledo, and I am joined again by my co-host, Pablo Robledo. Pablo, how's the week been?
Good, good. Watch some soccer. Uh, all my teams lost this week, so that sucks.
Yeah, at least the pickup game, it was closer this week than last week.
Still lost.
Only by one this time, though, so not too bad, not too bad. Improving,
Yeah,
improving. You got another goal, so that's good. You're up to 3
yeah,
in the
yeah.
season.
Every time I play, I put him in.
So we got a big episode ahead. We're gonna start with some World Cup stuff. Talk about the groups, talk about who we want to see go to the finals, how we want to see the tournament play out, and then we'll jump into our recap of the Charlotte Philly match, and then our preview of the Atlanta match coming up this weekend. So just to jump right into it, Pablo, what do you think of the groups for the World Cup?
Well, disappointed Colombia didn't make it. They played this past Tuesday against Venezuela. They won, but they needed more goals for the aggregate so they could move up in the tables, just make the cut. But they didn't make the cut. They only scored one goal. It was a 1-0 win. And so now we got to wait another 4 years for them to try to make it back. I don't know how long it's been since they haven't made a World Cup, but like ever since I was little, they've always been in it. So I was very surprised. So now we just got to root for USA. See how far they make it.
Yeah, I mean they hopefully get out of the group stages. They don't have too tough of a group. Not the hardest, definitely not the easiest either. But hopefully they'll make a nice run. I mean, I think this USA team has more talent than the 2010 USA team, and they made a pretty decent run at that World Cup. So
Yeah,
we'll have
I
to see
mean,
how it goes.
I would say USA is gonna go past the group stage. Um, Considering who is in that group, I mean, just England and USA. There's Iran, and then we're still waiting for a qualifying match between. No, it's Ukraine, which won't make it. I think it's Scotland and Wales. So out of those three, one of them still has to make it into. But out of those four teams, USA and England are the powerhouse. Iran, I don't see them making it too far. And if Scotland makes it, then that would be that would probably be the kicker there.
That or Wales, because they've got Gareth Bale, and even though he's not performing that well at the club level, he always puts in really good matches for Wales.
Oh, I didn't know Gareth Bale.
Yeah, so that's kind of the only one I'm worried about.
I thought he was from Spain.
No, he just plays there. Yeah. So, any of the other groups that you're interested in, like seeing any matches that kind of jump out of the screen for you?
Yeah, I kind of always secretly root for Japan. Even though they never make it very far, but they're in with a tough group. They're in there with Germany and Spain. So I don't see them making it out of the group stage. Besides that, most of these powerhouse teams, like you got Argentina, Mexico, they're in Group C. They'll probably make it out. Brazil's got a pretty easy group. They got Serbia, Switzerland, Cameroon. Not known, maybe Cameroon, but Serbia and Switzerland known very much for strong in soccer. Group H, you got Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay, and South Korea.
That'll be
Uruguay
a
and
good group.
Portugal will probably make it out.
That Uruguay Ghana match is going to be good. Be a nice little like revenge rematch for Ghana from the 2010 World Cup, where Uruguay, famously knocked them out due to a handball by Suarez. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't recall that, but I don't like Suarez, so I'm hoping Uruguay doesn't make it. I don't like Suarez, but I do like what's the other guy's name? Nelly? No. He plays with Manchester.
Cavani.
Cavani. Yeah, I like him. But and I like to see a South America team make it through. And I don't like that Suarez guy.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat. I'm not a big Suarez fan.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Ghana go through instead of Uruguay.
Yeah, but besides that, I'd say you're gonna have the the major players make it out of these group stages um,
Group C
without
will be
major
interesting.
without major challenges.
Group C, you got Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Poland. That
Right.
Mexico, Poland, they could probably both fight for that second place
Yeah,
in that
exactly.
group.
Mexico and Poland will probably fight for second. Argentina will definitely make it out. Or in Group D, you got France. There's Denmark or Tunisia, and then they're still waiting for qualify.
Yeah.
But it's probably gonna be either.
Yeah, so it'll be some good matches. Who are you hoping to see in the final?
I mean, so there's lots of talk about this is gonna be, and it's probably true, but it's gonna be Ronaldo's last World Cup. And
Yeah.
same for Messi. Be an amazing World Cup if those
Yeah.
two ended up in the final.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the only trophy that these guys haven't won. And I'm sure, they would trade probably almost any title that they've won for a World Cup. If one of them win it, does that, cement them as the greatest ever? Or, if neither of them win the World Cup at the end of their careers, how much do you think that hurts their legacy?
I think it would hurt Messi's more than it would hurt Ronaldo.
Really?
Yeah, because Argentina has won it a couple of times in the past.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, they're the more powerhouse out of those two.
Yeah.
I actually saw a crazy stat today, actually, that before Ronaldo joined the Portugal team, they had only qualified for like 5 out of 17 World Cups. And ever since he's joined, they've never missed one.
See, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I think that it helps your point. Yeah, I totally agree.
And Messi, he's always getting uh compared to previous Argentinian players that have done so much for that club. He's always compared to Maradona.
Yeah.
And he's won the cup with
Yeah, I
them.
mean Maradona's basically won everything, him and Pele. And that's why they're
Yeah.
considered the two greatest. They
Right.
won everything.
So that's like the one thing Messi missing to put himself right up there with the names of the Argentinian legend Maradona.
I think even just some of the names that like you think of best ever. I think what's like really crazy about Messi and Ronaldo is how long they've been like at the top or near the top.
Yeah.
To me though, I think if neither of them win a World Cup, then I think you can't say they were as great as the original Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Zinedine Zidane, because those guys, Terry Henry, those guys won everything that Messi and Ronaldo have won. Maybe not as many times, maybe not as many like Champion Leagues or Ballon d'Ors.
Yeah.
But they've got that and the World Cup. Like, if you kind of think of it, everything they've played in, competed in, they at least won once.
Yeah.
I think that goes a long way. It kind of shows that you hit a higher peak, maybe momentarily, but like at one point you were a lot better.
Yeah, but I think what makes these guys still, and not to take away from anything they've done, at the level that they're still competing at in further age,
Yeah.
that they're still playing over there in those European clubs and still being considered a threat, and not even considered a threat, but they are a threat.
Yeah, like still top
Right.
players. Yeah,
For their age and for what they're doing now. I mean, like
because
these,
they're both
these two guys are like some of
mid-30s.
the best that's ever played football.
Yeah, it's gonna be a sad era when they're both retired.
Yeah, which is coming soon. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know for Ronaldo. I'm pretty sure he just got back with Manchester United, so he would retire with them.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. And for Messi, I'm not too sure. They probably just had a lot of money.
Well, in Barcelona, they're having financial troubles. They couldn't renew his contract. But there's
he doesn't look too happy over there at that club.
Yeah, PSG. No. I mean, there is rumors that he might go back this summer now to Barcelona with Xavi as the coach, and
Yeah.
I mean, if he does, I think that could definitely be the signal of like kind of a last hurrah. I
Hmm.
do think if one of them win the World Cup though, they should retire like that night.
Oh, you have to. I
No
mean,
reason to go back and kind of fade into mediocrity at the club level. And not saying that that's gonna happen if they win. Like, if they win and Ronaldo goes back to Man United or Messi's at PSG or Barcelona, I would rather them just call it quits right there and then after winning than go back and have like a mediocre season or even 2 or 3 seasons of being like kind of a ghost of the past, like what once was there. I'd rather just kind of see them leave the
exactly.
game at the height of their powers.
Which was actually funny because that was kind of a concern when Ronaldo went back to play for Manchester United. Was not the same. He didn't do much for Juventus, this and that. But he didn't have much, from what I could tell. He didn't have much help over in Juventus. As far as Manchester United, he's got a lot more talented players over there. He's got Pogba up there, famous Harry Maguire, but he's still like performing really good. He's gotten
Yeah.
player of the matches times. He's had several hat tricks. Where if you got Messi and what he's done with PSG or just PSG alone, like have um doesn't seem like they've been that great. Messi
Yeah.
doesn't seem like he's done much for that club. They got Mbappe, they got Neymar, they got obviously Messi now, and then I think also Sergio Ramos.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean, like that team is stacked.
Yeah.
They should be headlining all the time, and I just don't see them.
No, I mean
Like
they
I don't
got
see too many
knocked out of
highlights of that
the
team.
quarterfinals of the Champions League. I mean that they're winning, League One, their, domestic league, but I mean the depth of teams isn't there.
Yeah,
And then you look at, Ronaldo at the Premier League. I mean, he's Man United's not what it used to be, especially when he was there in his early 20s. They're not that team anymore of like, you know, being number one in the league all year round.
right.
But that league has just gotten more competitive since then. When you look at Man City now is a, big powerhouse team. Liverpool, which was like, when Ronaldo was at Man United winning the league a lot, they were kind of on the decline a little bit.
Yeah, they were
Um,
like a mid-table team.
yeah, and Chelsea now are, they've kind of always been up there since '04. But now you've also got, Tottenham's doing a lot better.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Liverpool's now a powerhouse again. Arsenal have their days, so it's a lot more competitive league. And yeah, Ronaldo's still doing great performances there.
Yeah.
So not sure how we got to that tangent, but yeah, it'll be an exciting World Cup for them. I mean, realistically, it's going to be their last one ever. Hopefully, we just enjoy all their matches and kind of hopefully we get to see some highlights, some really like historic moments from them one more time.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure there'll be some good highlights that come out of this World Cup for them. I just want to see them uh kind of make it all the way. I would like to see Argentina
Yeah, that'd be a
final.
great
That would be
final.
like the most epic
Yeah,
final ever.
I can't even think of like what to compare that to. Really, no.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be like if the
That's like a Brazil and Argentina.
well, it's like if the '93 Bulls could time travel to like now and play the most stacked NBA team, or like a prime Jordan against a prime LeBron.
Hmm.
Like if you could ever see that match in an NBA final,
Yeah,
I mean that's
exactly.
what this is going to be. Oh, they're not at their primes, but still, I hope they don't like kind of fade out in the groups.
Right. They're not at their primes, but they're both like at the same level.
Yeah,
They both have risen and kind of peaked at the same time, and then have slowly started. Not a like, I guess you could call it a decline, but it's like
yeah,
a slow decline,
almost more like a plateau.
right?
Yeah,
But they're both done it almost at the same time. So
yeah,
even if like they played in the final at this cup, they would be at that same level.
yeah, yeah. That'll be interesting to see. I'm excited for it. It's going to be definitely a World Cup to remember.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and to jump into the tragic 2-0 loss this past weekend for Charlotte FC against the Philadelphia Union. Uh, it's probably biggest game of the season so far from a conference standpoint. You could argue LA was a bigger in spectacle, but that's kind of not really as impactful of a match since it's not, a conference match, but this, Charlotte is going up against the number one team in our conference.
Yep.
I mean, 3 points this weekend would have been huge for our playoff run. But unfortunately, just got a little bit outclassed, outplayed a bit by the Philadelphia Union. What were your thoughts on the match overall?
When I first originally watched this match Saturday at your house, and thanks for having us, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, it was frustrating to watch. I
Yeah.
was really just like sitting there silently, like I couldn't believe what was happening after seeing how they performed the last two games, and even on previous matches where yeah we lost, but like we we seemed good.
Mm-hmm.
This match, it didn't look like we were all there. Uh, didn't look like their team was like pressing that hard. Like guys were running as much. You basically said it at the introduction. We were just outplayed,
Yeah.
outclassed.
What did you think of the starting lineup? We had, we went in the 5-4-1 formation. It's a pretty, heavily defensive formation. We took out Rios and threw in Walks as the additional center back.
Yeah.
Mora gets, another look in the lineup. No, obviously no Franco. He was, coming back from international duty. And then Brent Bronico is back in the lineup over Jones. What were your thoughts on the starting lineup?
When I saw it was five in the back, I immediately not too happy with that. And that's just because I've never been a defense. I mean, not a defense, a fan of a heavy defense formation.
Yeah.
Like usually when I like on FIFA,
Mm-hmm.
I'll do like a 4-4-2 or
Yeah.
3-4-2.
Which
I'm sorry, 3-5-2.
Which the kind of both our wins came from us using a 4-4-2.
Right. Yeah.
So it's something to note there.
I feel like when you put five in the back, you're just setting up a formation for that. You're just setting up for an attack. Like you're just gonna take on these attackers as long as you can. You're gonna building up a wall, and you're just gonna take as much damage as you can. And you don't leave your forwards that much help. It was five in the back, that four in the
and so we played five in the
middle.
back, and then a diamond in the middle for midfielders.
So it was just Swiderski up there by himself. And it didn't look like, I mean, you could see Swiderski was heavily frustrated at this game. It just wasn't working out. Anytime that we got the ball, Swiderski was like in our own half, or he was just all by himself. He had nobody to like play with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even if he's at the top of the circle on your side, that's a long ways to go all by yourself.
Yeah, and he clearly wants, someone to play off or someone to hold the ball up there at the top of the circle for him to run into space and get played into it.
Plus, it gives their defense, if we're only playing one up front.
Yeah, I mean, they can just throw so many guys forward.
He had mostly two guys on him.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get open from two guys.
Yeah, my big issue too is like when I kind of saw the 5-4-2, wasn't happy that we were really focusing on the defense. Our defense is good, but we clearly make mistakes. And Philadelphia was kind of known for, or is known for, being a counter-attacking team, a team that doesn't, hold on to the ball for long periods of time, but when they do get it, they're immediately, attacking you with long ball over the top or just a ball into space. And for me, it kind of felt like when the management sees or hears that on the scouting report, like, okay, they like to attack quickly on the counter attack. How should we stop it? Okay, let's throw five in the back and four midfielders to also help. So we're pretty much at all times going to have 7 or 8 defenders.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that only leaves you 2 attackers. What should we do? Okay, then when we attack, our wing backs will push forward and we'll play with 3 in the back, and now you've got your 4 midfielders, your 1 striker, and your 2 wing backs. So you got 8 attackers now. But it's like, well, from that, to me, it seems like, well, that plays right into Philadelphia's strength, right? Like when we're attacking and we have 3 in the back, and Philadelphia is a counter-attacking team, they're not counter-attacking against the 5 in the back. They're counter-attacking against the 3 in the back that are spread out pretty wide.
Yeah,
And
and for those wing backs to be running back and forth, I mean, that gets tiring. Eventually, they're not going to be able to keep up the whole game.
yeah, it's just too much space to cover, like too many gaps in between your center backs. And
Yep.
I mean, we saw it. I mean, that's exactly what led to the goal. To kind of paint the picture, pretty early goal. I think what, the third minute.
Yeah, 3 minutes in. Which when that first goal went in, it was like 3 minutes in. I'm like, okay, that's early goal. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
you can
stinks, but
come
it was
back
like
from it
we
though.
can you can come back from an early goal. Just didn't. It seems like forward just made real struggle to make any type of plays.
Yeah,
Midfield, especially in the center, seemed non-existent.
yeah. So to kind of build up to the goal, we're 3 minutes in. I wish the highlight kind of showed more of the build up, but it was where we were attacking down the left side pretty well. I think Brant Bronico, Sergio Ruiz, Bender, and Mora were all connecting decently well, and I think Fuchs was involved in it as well. And we're in their final third, maybe 10, 15 yards outside the box, and the ball gets played to Mora. I think he has the right idea, poor execution though, of trying to switch it into open space. Unfortunately, we just didn't have anyone in that space. There was no Alcivar there, no Lindsay there, and so it just goes right back to Philadelphia's left back. He has plenty of time on the ball, no real pressure. One time's a huge long ball, and then you know the goal just happens from there. I think it's a really big breakdown also on our defense. Like Lindsay has his eyes on the ball as it's going over him,
Yep.
and I would have rather him just kind of be more aware of the attacker making the run and just making sure he's goal side between them. And then Walks, I'm not really sure what Walks was doing there. He was kind of like in between the guy and the goal, but behind. It seems like he could have just been in a way better position. I think he got pretty outpositioned there. And then unfortunately, the Union off the bounce of the ball first times it across the face of the goal, and they just one tap it in.
Yep.
And then we kind of saw that it looked like maybe Fuchs and Kalina also miscommunicated there of whether he should come out or not. Just a big breakdown, and again, it just felt like that 5-4-2 just played right into Philadelphia's strengths.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we've got the goal playing here. What do you think?
Well, that long cross. I mean, the defender is the Philadelphia's left back gets the ball. The closest guy to him is Alcivar, and the defender's got plenty of time to either just a short pass to the right to kind of build a slow attack. But he sees Santos, number 17 on Philadelphia, just making that run down there, and he sends it. I mean, it's pretty early in the game. You got time to make mistakes.
Yeah.
But they, like you said, this is a counter-attacking team. So sure they're used to, and this is how they practice. But he sends that ball all the way down on the left side, past our two defenders, basically, because they're, launches that ball and everybody's running for it.
Yeah.
And being a young guy that he is, and then was it Mora that was also helping out?
No, Walks was the other defender there. Mora's the one that gave up the ball that's kind of started all of it.
Right. But Philadelphia's number 17 got two defenders running along with him, but he outruns them both.
Yeah.
The ball bounces in front of him. And this is how good this counterattack was. He didn't trap the ball and dribble down.
Yeah, he just kind of
let
ran
it bounce in front of him twice, sends a cross into the center. That's a one-time cross. Didn't stop the ball and set up for a cross. Just saw it bounce and then crossed it in. And then their attacker one time hits it in. Boom, boom, boom. That's quick. And for them to get that off, that just shows, the type of talent that this team has in Afghanistan. Just how we struggled with that. This whole match outplayed us.
Yeah.
Every single way.
The biggest thing for me was just how high they pressed us constantly. I mean, and for them to keep it up all match too is a big, testament to their ability, their fitness level, and just everything. But I mean, they were constantly eight Philadelphia players in our half just chasing down that ball. And if you look at the game on paper, we had good possession. I think 60-40 possession.
Yeah.
We just ever got out of our own third.
I
I
think
mean,
that's one thing we talked about is when we looked at the stats when the halftime came up, it was like a 60-40 where we had
yeah.
60%, but it was like that's probably another goes to pros and cons. So this heavy formation, heavy defensive formation, we just had it in our own half a lot. And even though like our defenses were passing it back and forth, they were passing it to try to get away from their oncoming
Yeah.
attackers. They were pressuring our defense so much it was just crazy. Like type of pressure that a forward guy was making on a defense
Oh man, I mean,
make
it
them
just
react. Because
constantly
usually,
forced us back to Kalina.
yeah,
Like,
exactly. Which is how that second goal came about. But we'll talk about that later. But what I was getting ready to say is, if you got five in the back, that leaves you a lot of options to build some type of attack going up. But it was like we were just
oh
reacting
yeah,
to keep the ball, just to keep the ball, not
yeah.
even make an attack.
I mean, yeah, it was just like I rewatched the first half last night, and that was really the thing that caught my attention that I didn't really notice the first time watching was, yeah, just how as soon as Philly lost the ball, I mean, they were pacing it down,
Yeah,
you know, constantly. Three or four guys were not just pressuring the player with the ball, but also like cutting off any passing lanes. Like, I mean, he just had no. Sometimes Corujo and Fuchs would get the ball and just have no other options but to go back
yeah,
to Kalina. And part of that is Philly's press, but I think another big part of this is we just don't have midfielders that can really, control the tempo of the game and get us out of those situations by, receiving a ball quickly, turning and switching it. I mean,
yeah,
it felt like we really are missing, and we talked about in earlier episodes too, that we're just really missing that, connective tissue in the middle of the field that can get us out of our own half and turn on an attack. Um, we were constantly just playing against the back line. Um, so not much else went on in the first half. I think that the defense, did a lot better. I mean, again, we kept the ball so much that Philly didn't get too many chances. And again, Philly pressed us so much that we didn't get too many chances, except here in the 41st minute. Fuchs wins the ball at the half field, or actually gets played the ball, and just charges down the left side, sees Moore as open, plays Moore into space. I really like the buildup of this attack because they're finally doing something we've been kind of preaching on of if you've got all that space, just go ahead and dribble into it,
yeah,
especially if no one's going to pressure you. And Fuchs finally does that. He's dribbling into that space. Once he does get some pressure, he plays it to Mora. Mora takes it down that left side. Bender does a great, I guess you can call it a run where he just kind of holds off his run and stays at the top of the box. Mora passes it back to him. Bender settles and shoots. And I mean, I don't know how that didn't go in. It just
yeah. I mean,
curled
that's
away
a
from that
fine
near
shot.
post. Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's good build up. But still,
I
it's
mean,
like one
just
of the
unlucky for it to not go in. Honestly, he should have scored that.
yeah, yeah. It maybe another time, another shot, another day it goes in. Fortunately, it didn't go in this time. But that was a good play. Like that's a good
Yeah,
build up play. That was good passing. Good setting up in open space. But just kind of going back to what you're saying, like how we're just in the field, we don't have ready to just really make a move or make plays, things like that. Like we can move it up the side just fine. When there's nobody in the midfield, it makes it so much easier for the defense to just get on you.
yeah. I mean,
Even
that's
though,
why I was so surprised to see Derek Jones not in the starting lineup because I
yeah,
felt like against Cincinnati,
he had a
hit,
great game.
yeah, and his game isn't that much better than Brant Bronico's. It probably sounds like I'm a big Bronico hater now, and I'm not. I just think like,
I like Jones better.
yeah, I think he just switched the ball, more than Bronico does, and I think he kind of gets into these tight spaces to receive the ball a bit more than Bronico does as well. And he's such a big presence on the field. Like,
Yeah. He just looks threatening,
yeah, I mean, I would have loved
intimidating.
to have seen how he could have shut down some of these counterattacks. But yeah, big surprise that he wasn't in the starting lineup and playing.
Yeah.
Um,
If anything, from that starting lineup, there was one or two things I would have changed from the starting lineup is um and I 100% agree with you. Bronico should not have gotten that start. It should have been Jones. And then I also think instead of Beast, it should have been awful. The few times we've seen awful, he's great.
Yeah.
That's the only two I would make out of that starting line. Besides the form, like the actual formation, I would 5 in the
Yeah.
too defensive.
And something we talked about outside the podcast when we were watching the game I think you called me out on it. Like I was saying, I like how Ramirez kind of shifts the formation to who we're playing, and we have all these options, because it felt like against Cincinnati, New England that we did. We had all these players that could kind of
Yeah,
play in different positions and kind of shut down attacks. But now when you look at against Philly, it's such a top level team. I think it's almost better if we just get really good at one formation, one playing style, and kind of enforce our will and our style of play onto the opponents instead of trying to bend to how they play, because that's what all the top teams do.
Yeah.
If you look, in the top Europe leagues, like your top teams there, they're not game planning around specific teams. They're saying this is how we're going to play, this is how we attack, this is how we defend, that kind of thing. And I think going forward, I'd like to see a little bit more of that from Charlotte.
See, the thing is, like, even though we had 5 in the back, uh, and Philly's starting lineup was a 4-4-2. At times it seemed like, because they had so many guys just pressuring us, it almost seemed like they only had 3 or 2 defenders back.
Yeah.
Because like we had our ball in our own half so much, trying to get away or trying to get in the open space, to where that formation played to our weakness.
Yeah, and it's like
they had so many guys up there that,
and with us only having one guy up top, like they can
there's no way
afford
for
to
us to build
send.
an attack.
Yeah, they can afford to send an extra outside back to go help the
Yeah.
attack, because your 2 center backs are gonna have enough coverage on the one lone striker.
Yeah.
So
See, the thing I like about a 4-2 formation is, the obviously you'll have the 4 defensive backs and 2 strikers, but that middle formation you can really play to their straight line, or I like to do kind of like a diamond in the center where
Yeah.
you got defensive mid to help the 2 center backs, and then those 2 wingers on the left side and the right side can back and help the
yeah,
right backs or the left backs. And then when we do get the ball, players can shoot up, and the left backs almost act as like a secondary winger.
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it really helps build up that counterattack. But yeah, with that 5 defensive and we're in the middle, it was just counterproductive the
Yeah.
whole game.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I definitely just want to see some more creativity in the middle of the field for us. Because again, like we have a lot of possession, we're able to pass it around, but a lot of the times it's just like, and it's kind of like to what we've talked about in earlier episodes of just forcing it down one side and then like getting stuck there, not knowing what to do with it, as opposed to like switching it into space. And again, like what led to Bender's chance was we'd force it down the right side. Alcivar gets the ball, sees Fuchs has a ton of open space and switches it to him, and then he's able to take into that space. And just something we need to see more from this team.
Yeah, and I'd hate to be. Well, I don't want it to seem like we're just being so negative on these guys because of the loss. Like, yes, we're not gonna win them all. I get that. But this is just an example of switching that formation and how this formation does not work.
Yeah,
and you can see how like players are just frustrated.
Yeah,
players are not running. I mean, you could see how
especially in
Swiderski,
that second half, like
was just so fed up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could see in his body language, like by the end of the first half, he was really frustrated.
And some of these players, it looked like they had just kind of almost given up too, because the lack of running.
Yeah, I mean, in the second half, like there was times where we had the ball and Philly wasn't pressing and just kind of holding, their ground, and we just had no one making runs into space. Like no one was playing balls into space. Like
Yeah.
a lot of it is still just like at feet, and like that's great if you want to like keep possession. Like you got to attack too. Like you need to play some balls into the space for people to run into. One thing you and I noticed when we were watching the game is, me personally, I feel like we've got a great attacking, outside back in Jalen Lindsey, and he finds himself, yards of space constantly down his side. He's wide
Yeah.
open, but the service to him is always horrendous. Like
Yep.
it's either played behind him, played right at his feet, played too far in front. Like I mean, he gets in these great positions where he's all alone and can really attack and
Yep.
just never gets the right ball for it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
got
always
to be so
either like you
frustrating.
said, far in front of him where he's got to chase it down, or and defensive gets it, or back where he's got to backtrack and there's almost somebody got to give up.
Yeah, or they just do it too late and that space gets taken away.
Yeah, yeah, he makes some good runs, which I like. Um, but then again, this just goes to show you like what a top team. Like, I mean, they're at the top of the table for a reason. You know,
Yeah.
they got the talent for it. Um, but going to that second goal that they scored early in the second half, I mean, like right at the start of the second half,
Yeah, I
basically.
mean, it's like
Even after that
super
goal,
random.
like most teams, okay, it's 2-0 off, kill the clock. They were still just heavy pressure.
Pressing.
And it just goes to show you, like, this team has a goal. Like, they're at the top of the table. They see what they can do. And yes, 2-0, but like, let's make it 3-0. Let's get
Yeah.
that goal aggregate up. Like, they're serious about this thing. To the
And I
point
mean,
where they're
it could
not
have
going to
easily
ease
been
up.
it could have been 3 or 4-0. Kalina still had some great saves this
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. And yes, it was a loss. I'm not going to say, like I've said earlier, like when we played Galaxy, that was an honor. It was a loss. It was a tough loss. But I mean, this team just showed you like top talent can really do, and that team chemistry. I mean, these guys were just in the right spot
Yeah.
every time at the right moment. Even when their guys was like wide open for shots, you had two other guys that were easily wide open for
Yeah.
rebound.
Yeah, I think for me and I think I might have already said it before, but just the frustrating thing was like how big of a game this was, like how big of an opportunity it could have been. And, for us to go against, again, probably the toughest opponent we've gone up against, and just to have probably our worst performance of the season is just like so
Yeah.
heartbreaking. Like if they would have played like they did against, New England or Cincinnati, some of the, fluidity we saw there, some of the movement off the ball we saw there. Um, because in those games, like they were high pressed into our own half, but there were so many times where we just like, three or four players would connect to pass out of that space and switch the field, and just felt like we never really did that this match.
Oh, yeah. And then, going back to how players were just our players, especially our attackers, were frustrated. I mean, some of these guys were taking shots when there's in front of them, just wasted opportunity and passed off, but nobody's there to make the run.
Yeah, I'd say Mora had a good shot there. We just saw it the 56th minute, or he had plenty of space, but he's not the top of, not the greatest finisher.
Right.
But again, and then we're at the next highlight at the 59th minute. See again Lindsay running down that right side,
Wide
and
open.
wide open, no
Wide
one on him.
open.
Alcivar just forces a shot, and it is just a poor effort shot. I mean, that's just terrible finishing.
Just trying to force something that's not there.
Yeah,
Ruiz sending one just wafted right over the goal. That
yeah.
free kick, was that Alcivar that kicked the free kick
At the end of the first
at the end of
half,
the first half?
yeah, and just
I mean,
launched it
where
through the
was that
field
even?
goal.
Just
I mean, he was just trying to put his foot through it, and
got
just
way under it.
yeah.
And I'd like to hit some positives on this one where um on the second half we did switch formations
And we
and
looked a lot better.
and it looked a lot better, and you did see more attacking abilities come out of it.
We definitely tested them more in the second half. Played a bit more attacking football in that second half. Just couldn't get the end product there, but it looked in that second half that we were a lot more likely to put one in the back of the net than in that first half. I mean, in that first half, we didn't get a sniff of the goal really, besides
No.
Bender's opportunity.
Anytime we had the ball and we tried to get it up there, Swiderski was by himself, but he had like two defenders on him
Yeah,
already. How are you gonna run up the field and make a play when there's nobody to pass it to? There's so many defenders in front of you to get past.
yeah,
Swiderski, yeah, he's good, but he's not. To me, he's not a type of player where he's out there like throwing moves and juking people. he's using that 1-2 pass to get past people. I've said in the past where I said like Rios has had a quiet game and this, but he's helped build the attack.
Yeah, he's a good hold up player
Right.
that, allows Swiderski to get into great positions to attack. And yeah, I mean, the little bit of, juking that we do see from Swiderski, it's a lot of like cuts to kind of give himself the half yard outside
Yeah.
the box to get the shot off.
Yeah, switching the direction of the play, but
Yeah, not
hard to do when
necessarily
you got two guys
yeah,
on both sides.
yeah, and no support. No one to play the ball off to.
The only way he could play the ball is backwards,
Yeah,
and that's where the other team is.
yeah. I know it was really crazy just to see how many Philadelphia players were constantly in our half. I mean,
Yeah.
we were watching the highlights here, we watched the game, and I mean, it's just always like 8 Philly players in that half.
I know one time during the first half, I started counting how many Philadelphia players were in our half. We were trying to get the ball out. And it was actually easier just to count how many defensive players they had at the line, at
Yeah,
the halfway line. And it was only like 2.
yeah,
So, I mean, that just heavy pressure by Philadelphia. The end result, defensive wall crumbled,
yeah,
sadly. This is one of those matches that you can really learn from.
yeah.
Hopefully, they take some
And it's still early in the
notes from
season.
this.
Thankfully, this isn't going to be the loss that makes us miss playoffs or anything like that.
Right.
Still a lot of opportunities ahead of us. And we've shown we've got the talent and the style to win games. Just unfortunately, it was not our night. But this weekend back home against a familiar foe. Be playing Atlanta United this Sunday, 1:30 at Bank of America Stadium. What are you wanting to see out of this game?
Well, it's a revenge game. I think we talked about how this is gonna be our number one rival, which I can see. I think it's gonna. I want to see a physical game out of this. Want to see obviously our 4-4-2 formation, not this 5-4-1. But
Yeah,
I just
definitely want to see them come out more attacking.
yeah, because in the first time we played Atlanta, started off a little quiet. That game could have easily, if it had not been for that PK, obviously, it would have been a 1-1 game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm fine with that. But I
Yeah.
want to see a win because it's a home game. It's a redemption game. So I want to see a win and let Atlanta know that we are a team taken serious. Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
just a 2-win or anything like. We're at the middle of the table for a reason.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a winnable game. Josef Martinez for Atlanta might be out. He's getting his knee checked out today. I think he picked up a nice little knock during the game against DC this past weekend. And then Osvaldo Alonso will also be out for Atlanta. I mean, that's huge. I felt like a big key player in the last matchup. One player I think we are going to have to keep our eyes on, and that actually, would like to see Awful in the lineup for is against Gutman, because last time he was pressing so high up against Lindsay, and then we saw at the second half that Awful came in and kind of shut that down and gave us the kind of the attacking advantage down that side. So that'll be interesting to see. Who do you want to see in the starting lineup in that 4-4-2? Do you want Rios back in? Do you want Reyna in?
At this point, I'm a little conflicted because Rios, when he's in, he's got that quiet game where he's not doing much. He doesn't seems like he doesn't help the attack much, but because he doesn't have too many shots off or like that. But he has had some assists and he has had some opportunities where, like you said, he hold the ball and wait for Versky or somebody to get open to open the attack. But I still gotta say maybe Reyna, because he has that it's like that little bit of
explosiveness.
Yeah, and he can get past. We seen it when he got into the game against Cincinnati in the very late.
Yeah,
he got past 2 defenders and he had a shot off, and I don't know how the goalie saved that.
Mm-hmm.
That could have. So I want to say go with Reyna, just because he seems like more explosive.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, he got maybe like 5 or 6 minutes in this Philadelphia game, and looked pretty good for when he did get the ball.
The thing that worries me about if you put Swiderski and Reyna is one, they've only played in one match together.
Hmm.
Chemistry is not there. Two is, both these guys are explosive players. Of them want to be playmakers.
Yeah.
Like, you can't score at the same time. Like, so one of them's gonna give it up. It's just who's gonna get
Yeah.
it. A lot of times when it comes to strikers, is they don't like to pass the ball. They
Yeah.
like to
Especially South American strikers.
right. Gotta put him in.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I'd like to see some changes in the midfield as well. I'd like to see Jones back in, especially.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a more physical game. If I recall, I think last time when we were in Atlanta, it was a pretty physical game.
Yeah.
And then I want to see Franco and Alcivar have some big games. I think this is going
Yeah.
to be a good opportunity for them to really impose their will on that midfield.
Yeah.
You know,
Ruiz, I felt like was just not very impactful. Yeah, he was open a couple of times and hospital over the post or
yeah,
not. Didn't seem like he was that impactful.
I'd have to agree with that. Don't see. I mean, you can see that the talent's there, and he's a very good technical player, but he's lacking a little bit of pace for me, and a little bit of like he keeps the ball well. I mean, everyone on this team keeps the ball well, but it's almost like that final ball of just like
His
playing
finishing
it.
touch.
Yeah, just like playing it into space for someone to run into, or finding a pass that's gonna break that defense down. It just
I mean,
doesn't
he's
seem like he
good,
has
but
that.
it's like Alcivar and Franco are just that much better that they
Yeah,
deserve to start. Even
yeah.
Ortiz too. Like, I mean,
Eh.
it's 50-50 with Ortiz.
Yeah.
It seems like,
I feel like he's
but
gotten progressively worse every game.
doesn't it seem that way, right?
Yeah.
It's
I
like
don't know if
he's
it's just a lack of confidence, getting used to
right.
the league, or maybe this style that the Ramirez wants to play doesn't suit him. But I will say he did look good against New England when he came on late.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he replaced either Bender or Swiderski.
Look at McCoon. He's not doing anything.
What are you talking about? He's there.
He got faked out by his own player.
But anyway, back to Ortiz. If he comes off the bench and replaces like Rayner or Swiderski as the second striker, um, I think I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
But I don't want him in that midfield. He's just not a midfielder to me. He doesn't track back very well. His distribution's not great, and he wants to be more involved in that final ball than the build up play.
Yeah, he's more of like an attacking right wing.
Yeah.
Somewhere on that side, not in the for an attacking midfielder, you got to play the ball off to the. You got to play it up to the strikers.
Yeah.
You got to hold the ball until you get some pressure on you, then you let it go to the striker that's making.
Yeah.
Seems to just finish it himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Ortiz
We've seen bits
doesn't
of it,
deserve to
but
start.
like we've seen some like bits of flashiness and like bits of potential there, just not
You need a full
consistent
90
enough.
though.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree. Um I do want to see, once Yazwiak gets into this team, how maybe a 4-3-3 would play out with him on the right, Yazwiak on the left, and Swiderski in the middle, and then like Franco, Alcivar, and Jones in the midfield, and then our typical back four. Um, I think that'll be a pretty good attacking team there once we get Yazwiak into the team and healthy.
Yeah, but then you're talking about three strikers up front, which takes away one from the midfield. I mean, I feel like our midfield is already suffering enough.
Yeah, I mean, the team is just really gonna have to focus, on keeping possession in the opposing team's half and keeping that high pressure up. Kind of almost like how Philly did us. Just if we lose that ball, that front three needs to be chasing it down. And then depending on how Franco and Alcivar kind of pendulum off each other, they need to shut down passing lanes as well. But I think it's something that could work.
You earlier when we were watching these highlights and when we watched that first goal go in by Philadelphia, Brooks was covering that guy and it looked like he tried to heel it out. You're talking about, I think his age factor
Yeah.
in that defensive role there, or just as a player in general. Like, elaborate a little bit on that.
I mean, father time beats everyone, right? You eventually have to stop playing at at a high level. It's just unsustainable. And I know he's our big signing, our big marquee signing. He's probably the most accomplished player on the team as well.
Yeah.
Has played at the highest level and won probably the toughest league to win in.
Yeah.
So not trying to knock any of those accomplishments, but I look at some of his performances and I don't know if they are always up to par or even always up to the standard of a star player like him should be.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of goals this season that have been kind of by mistakes he's made.
Yeah. You're
And
right. One was a deflect.
the Atlanta goal,
Yep.
that was poor covering on him.
Very poor.
The first goal here, the Philadelphia game, it's hard. I don't really blame him for that one. I mean, because if he comes in hard and fouls the guy, then we just give up another PK.
Yeah.
I would have preferred Walks to have gotten in a better position, or told Lindsay to cut into the box and him cover the guy while they're tracking the ball back. So I think for that first goal there was breakdowns elsewhere before it really reached Fuchs. But we've kind of seen some suboptimal performances. I think his best performance this year has been against LA.
And that's funny you say that. That's exactly what I asked you that question, because my mind, after match, seeing him play, it seems like the best games he's had so far. I'm not sure what his rating was, but just to me personally, it seemed like the best game he had once was against LA. Ever since that match, it's just been like a slow decline in performance.
I have to fact check it, but I think he's 35 years old, and
Right.
that's not young. And like as a defender, like it's just when you're playing defense, like any mistake you make gets highlighted and magnified a bit more because it leads to scoring opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even there, like we're seeing a highlight now where he just kind of gets shoved off that ball pretty easily that leads to a shot. and again, like when he gets, I think he looks a lot better when he's playing center back. Like I thought the Cincy game, he looked a lot better playing at that center back role when when there's just playing 4 in the back. But when he gets put at that left back position, like I think he does provide a good attacking element to it. Like he gets into space and is able to distribute the ball pretty well. He's just, to me, is starting to lean more on the liability side than asset side of the team, especially with some of these past performances. And again, I think it's more to do with just like how big of a name signing he was and the money that was used to brought him in. I'm just kind of wondering if it's and it's almost like, is it really worth it at this point? I don't know. And he's again,
the
captain, fan favorite, like kind of the face of the club.
He's selling the shirts.
Basically. Yeah. So I think he's just in a tough spot. I think maybe he's
because I'm just wondering, like, it's the beginning of the season. Best game so far was against Galaxy since then,
which was the second game of the season too.
Right. So as an older guy, like wear and tear in the body as you get older, recovering is not as quick as it used to be. It takes longer, and you feel the aches and pains a little more. So, like, is the game taking a toll on him as week goes by? Are these 90-minute games that he's playing taking a toll?
Yeah, and that's after the Atlanta game, something I brought up was like, is he a 90-minute guy?
Right.
I don't know, because I know you're not a big McCoon fan, and we've got other options at center back too that we haven't seen yet. But like, I don't necessarily feel that you have to play Fuchs for the full 90 minutes. Like, I think we have plenty of depth where you can put Armor in. You can, if you do start him at left back, you also have Amora that you can put in.
Yeah.
If you start him at center back, then you've got Walks you can put in. You got McCoon you can put in. Yeah. You've got
I feel like he should be
Polish center back
around like the mid 60 or early 70.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
You could get a refresh on that. Starting to look like he's not a full guy.
And also, you got to think of like the long term of the club too. Like at 35, I mean, how many more seasons is he really looking to play? I would almost rather him go ahead and start playing less now and get some younger guys some more experience.
Experience.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Especially like this Philly game at 70, 75 minutes in, you could tell we're probably not going to win it. I don't see why you don't. And he got shifted out to left back once McCoon came in. Why not just take Fuchs out and put Armor in? You know, like get him some more match experience. Like Armor's look, decent the few matches he's gotten. So I
That
don't
was
know. That's
another
just
thing that surprised me is Armor didn't come in at all.
yeah. I mean, he hasn't really seen much playing time since the goal in
Yeah.
Atlanta that I can recall.
Yeah.
I think maybe
And
he
they
came
haven't
on.
emphasized on like any I know last week we talked about how doing some of the training videos they put out, he was paper on the knee, but
Yeah,
they haven't said he's injured and he's listed as a sub. So aren't you playing him? Like, what's he doing wrong in practice? That could be another thing too, where they said before it's a new team. There's so many options they haven't tried yet. We're testing some of these guys out, giving them
yeah,
minutes instead of just having the set line every time. But man, this team just outclassed us so bad. It's hard to have a one definite.
yeah. Because I mean, I don't think it's hard. I mean, it's hard to say if the 4-4-2 would have made a big difference and with Reina up top, just because of how poor the midfield was.
Yeah.
You know,
But you could
yeah,
see
just
that the
hard.
4-4-2 formation made a big difference or some sort of significant difference to where in the second half we were actually getting shots off,
Yeah, that's
even
true.
though they were going over the post wide, but we were getting shots off.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
And Philly, yeah, they had some shots in the second half, but it wasn't to the point where in the first half, like we just that ball was only in the Charlotte half.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of times we had to go back to Kalina in those first 20 minutes. I think in those first 20 minutes, I think Kalina had like 15 or 16 passes.
Yeah, that's another thing you and I talked about is how many touches and passes Cleveland had on this game in comparison to previous ones. A bit more than the usual.
Yeah,
Think
and
of
he
this.
he sees a high number of touches,
Yeah,
but this game was like every 2 or 3 minutes we were going back to him.
which is where that I don't think we actually fully covered second goal.
Yeah, that's true.
Beginning of the second half. I mean, 45 minutes. The second half starts, and we pass the ball back to Kalina. Not sure where he's going past, if he's Bronico or
I mean, look at that press though.
uh,
You've got
they got
three, four,
four
five
guys
guys.
pressing our 4 defenders.
I mean, they had 3 guys in the box in our
Yeah.
box.
And Kalina has the ball, and he's just pressured so fast and so much that makes that bad pass, and
Yeah,
they're pouncing on it and then wide open goal. He's running back to trying to save it, but
I mean, he knew. He just
yeah,
knew that there's no saving that one.
no, yeah, there's no. I'd like to see Kalina run a 40-yard dash though. Because it's like him running back to trying to stop that. It's like the slowest I've ever. I
Like
mean,
when,
it probably was fast to him, but it just looks so slow. If you look
yeah,
back at the highlights, he's just like looks very stiff, slow running back.
there's a reason he's a goalkeeper, man, not a
Yeah, I'd
forward.
like to see him just run a 40-yard dash and be
It's nothing shots.
shot in front of 3
Yeah,
defenders. Like, your frustration.
yeah, yeah. I mean, back to this weekend's game against Atlanta. I think one thing we are definitely gonna have to watch out for, and another reason that I think Jones should start and Franco, is Thiago on Atlanta. Their new signing. He joined a few days before we played them the first time. He's been having a pretty good season so far. I think in week 3 or week 4, I mean, he scored a goal, also of a goal. So he's a big, attacking, threatening midfielder. You know, kind of their playmaker as well. So something we're gonna have to watch out for.
Yeah. I want to see Franco start because I know, and this is just building up to the rivalry that Atlanta has. Building Franco, and there was that other Atlanta.
Yeah, Alonso, he'll be out though.
Oh, he'll be out.
But I'm
I
sure there'll
wanted to
still
see
be
that kind of
some.
build up a
Yeah,
little bit. I have a feeling there's going to be a red card this game. I have a feeling that it's going to be a physical game because that's just how rivalry games get.
hmm
I just have a feeling that there's going to be a red card. I don't want to see a tie. I could see us coming out 1-0 or like a 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, I would love like just a dominating 3-0 win at home over Atlanta. Like,
Yeah.
kind of just send that message of like your guys' win was a fluke and came down to one, a late winner, and then just a sloppy PK. You're playing us now at our home, and we just sealed the deal and shut you guys out and just stomped you.
This is going to be another tough team. I mean, looking at the table, Philadelphia is number 1. You got the New York Red Bulls sitting at number 2. Then it's Atlanta at number 3.
Yeah.
We're sitting at 9th. So it's not like Atlanta is a weak team.
No,
They
definitely
didn't look
not.
that strong when we played them, and it was only our third game building momentum. But
Yeah.
they've been building their momentum.
Yeah, they have. And but again, they're gonna be a slightly weaker lineup than they have been these past couple weeks with Alonso being out, possibly Martinez being out. So that'll be interesting to see, how they kind of deal with that. And it'll be a good response by our boys, the Charlotte boys, to step up and win that game.
Yep.
Beat a top team, because I really don't want our wins just to be
From the easy guys.
Yeah, we really need to. And New England's definitely not an easy win. Cincinnati was on a pretty good streak when we beat them, but they're clearly having a tough season. Both those teams, as you can see, they're kind of in the middle of the table as well. I think it'll be a big statement if we beat Atlanta while they're third in the table, get us 3 points and move up the table some more. And it'll just be a good response by Charlotte, to come off this really bad loss, honestly, to have a good attacking performance of a 3-0 win. I think that's really what we need to see here.
Now, in your mind, when we play Atlanta, is this a must win for you, or what's the significance of this game for you going in?
It's hard to say it's like a must win because we're still early in the season, so we don't know like how things are gonna kind of play out the rest of the season, if we're gonna need these 3 points or not, or even if we just come out with just 1 point, how that'll look, to build to the playoffs. But I think it'll send a big statement to our other conference rivals and just the league in general of beating a powerhouse team, a team that's won it all before.
Yep.
That's clearly having a really good season now, being third and coming off like that, that loss. I think it's more of a, not necessarily a must win for end of season goals, but more of a must win in sending a message to the rest of the league, that we're, a team to be reckoned with.
Yeah. I gotta agree with you on that. Me, on a rivalry standpoint, it's got to be a must win, just to let them know that this is going to be a back and fight every time.
Yeah.
But as far as going back to build a momentum, staying right now mid tables or and trying to climb up, this is going to be a redemption game because this is a rematch already.
Yeah.
And then after that,
New England again. Away again.
And we're going to their turf now.
Yeah.
Right. And played New England and won. There was a lot of haters out there saying we had that Wednesday game and sent, so we got to win against Atlanta, build momentum, and against New England, and show me like, no, you didn't, not because your guys were tired, just because
we're better,
we're top tier.
Yeah,
right.
And I think it also just the big buildup between Atlanta and Charlotte the first time was like, is this a rival game? Like, is Charlotte a rival to Atlanta? Atlanta's done so much. Charlotte's, the new kid on the block. I think if we lose this game, it plays into that message more of they're just the new kid on the block, like making some noise, but nothing serious. If we win this game, it's like, no, we're a rival. Like, you don't beat us at home. And next season, we're coming for you at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it just kind of cements us as more of a threat.
But me, in my mind, this is
I think for the, to kind of get ahead of ourselves for that New England game, I think that's also kind of a must win. Not only just because it's New England again and to again kind of establish that series as a 2-0, like we beat you home and away, but also just to show that we can win at away. We can win outside of our home turf.
Yeah.
We haven't done that yet. Lost to DC, lost to Atlanta, now lost to Philly. And away games are very important when it comes to winning championships. Like, you just cannot, you don't have to be 100% when you're away. It's kind of more important to be 100% at home, but you gotta pick up some points when you're away. Like,
Yeah.
it just goes a long way.
Mentally too, it's tougher.
Yeah.
They're cheering for you as the fans that do go out to your other team. You're not there for each other like that to support each other. It's not gonna help you out any. They're gonna give up on sooner than before it's actually over.
Yeah. Which I think might be what we saw here at this Philly game a little bit.
Yeah, I felt. I mean, I saw.
Everyone's body language.
I was personally demoralized when that second goal, like, just such a sloppy mistake that cost us. I don't want to say the whole game, but it was just after that and started some of the shots that came, they were just so forced.
Yeah, and especially
taking that shot with 3 guys in front of him, or Alcivar taking that shot when Lindsey's wide open on the right.
Yeah. And especially because, like, at the halftime, they made the changes to go back to the 4-4-2, and it's like, this is going to be a new half. Like, all right, we're only down by 1.
Yeah,
like,
it was just,
and then just to immediately go down.
Yeah, and in soccer, goal. It's 1-0. You can come back from that, especially that early goal. 2-0, yes, you can come back, and I felt like we could have came back, but it was just, man.
But as every second, ticked, it's just like,
but the type of goal that was and how we gave it away, that felt like the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, like, we're not winning this one.
Yeah. Good on them to keep trying and striking, but yeah, some of these shots were just so forward.
I mean,
the opportunities were wasted. That free kick, I felt like, okay, that's actually another thing I talked about was that free kick. With it being just such a horrible free kick. I mean, it went like 30 yards above the goal.
Yeah.
I think it bounced out of the stands into the parking lot is how bad that free kick was. Is Alcivar out of the running for free kicks? Should it have been a Bender, who, hasn't been terrible at free kicks, or Soderski, who has been the only one to put one in from a free kick?
Yeah, I'd rather have Soderski take it than Bender. Not only just because he's scored from a free kick, and he himself has admitted, that's not his strong suit, is scoring off free kicks.
Yeah.
But just because he's the guy in form, he's clearly, like, frustrated he's not seeing the ball. Like, let him take the like, he's your forward. His job is to shoot and put, balls in the back of the net. Let him take that. I mean, it was kind of far, but let's see what he can do with it.
It wasn't terrible. I mean,
no, it's definitely like within the distance.
He had on the previous game was a little farther out and at a more difficult angle.
Yeah,
this one was almost. It was a little. Looking at the goalpost there, you're a little to the left of it, but almost center.
Yeah, I think it was further out, but in a better angle. Yeah, but yeah, I agree. I think you just let him take it, and let him at least build some confidence up in that match, get some frustration out. Like, let him see the ball. He just hadn't seen the ball. Like, let him go for it. Bender and Alcivar, both for me, when they take free kicks and obviously corner kicks, I think they're better at delivering a ball to get some ahead on it than they are at finishing. Especially Alcivar, I think he's got a pretty good cross on him.
Yeah.
The one thing I don't like that we're doing now, though, is this short corner.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
Like, I never like when any team does it, and
because it's like it's almost like a free kick. You're sending it up, and with anything when you send the ball up there,
and it kind of got popularized like in the early 2010s by Barcelona. But that was because they didn't have any big target guys.
Right.
All they had was PK and Puyol, who could win headers, but then they had Villa, Iniesta, Xavi, Pedro, Sanchez, Messi, who are all short, quick guys that were not going to win headers. So they played a short pass and then tried to break down the defenses in the box that way.
Yeah, get them out.
Yeah, and ever since then, at least for me, ever since then, teams have tried incorporating short free kicks into their, arsenal as like just an extra thing for defenses to watch out for.
Yeah.
But for if you look at the Charlotte lineup, especially in the first half, right? We have Walks, Fuchs, and Corujo, all big, tall center backs. Berderski's pretty
Jones would
big
have been
guy.
another one if he had started.
Yeah, if Jones would have started, so I think you have plenty of big guys that can, you can kind of target for. And Alcivar, again, on the corner kicks that he has taken, I think his delivery's been pretty good. So I don't see why we don't just, just play the corner normally, not give up the short corner. I really don't like it.
Yeah, and it almost seems like on these short corners is like they pass it out to that short pass, and then they send it in. I'm like, why? Like, just
Yeah,
skip
it
the
kinda
middleman and send it from the corner.
and it kind of throws the timing of the runs off. Like, yeah,
You gotta like fake a run to make a real run. Yeah,
yeah, because you got to
it
sell
hasn't
the
worked
short
out in our
yeah.
favor.
Yeah,
Now, it hasn't worked out. Like the way that works is you pass it to the guy outside, and then you start passing it around the box. But that all goes back to that Barcelona
yeah,
tiki taka type of
yeah.
passing. Like
And with the
you're
way
making 20
Philly was
passes before you
pressing,
do one shot.
yeah, the way Philly was pressing too, like if they would have done that, like played it short and then kind of played it out long to the center, like I'm sure Philly would have shut it down right away, and we'd be back at Kalina.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm not a big fan of the short corner.
Oh yeah, same here.
Any final notes for this Philly game or the upcoming Atlanta game?
No, I think if anything, I just hope Philly has kind of really taught them a lesson on where they need to be at performance wise and wise chemistry wise, all that, to be at the top of the tables, to be in that top five. And it just shows us where we're lacking. I hope they can really take away lessons from here. I hope they're not too demoralized. They just need to brush it off and beat Atlanta, beat New England.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, again, like I think that's another reason this game is going to be important to win, is just to build that confidence back up.
Yeah,
because you saw like when they beat New England, how much better they looked against Cincinnati. Like it clearly motivated the team.
Yeah, because when we played Cincinnati, when we watched the Philadelphia and Cincinnati highlights, Cincinnati didn't look that bad.
Yeah.
And we beat them just out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the play for Charlotte and Philadelphia, I mean, I don't know how we won against Cincinnati
Or New England.
Right? It's just, and I think that's why last week when you and I predicted victory over Philadelphia, well, we thought we should have beat and that Cincinnati and Philadelphia, they looked evenly matched. They just had a couple mistakes here and there, and that's how they won it. But
Yeah.
this was a night and day difference. I don't know if it's just because they were at home or they just got their act together, but they really taught us a lesson.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also like, I think you almost don't do Philly justice by just watching the highlights, because again, like how much they pressed us and just forced us to play out of the back, and
constant pressure they have.
It's we haven't seen that from another team so far.
No, and it's something that we're honestly lacking. Like, I think you and I both said in previous episodes, it's just our defense not pressure enough when their offense is attacking. And when we do have the ball, we lose the ball, just jogging back.
Yeah.
To do something. And it's just that like all worked against us this game.
Yeah.
We might have gotten away with it in other games. We did, but not in this game. They pounced on every opportunity, every bad pass, every open space that we gave them, they were there.
Yeah. Are you going to be a little more nervous now every time Kalina gets the ball back for a pass, or are you still comfortable with him on the ball?
That's a good question. We'll have to see. I don't mind when Kalina gets the ball back.
Especially because other games, his distribution has actually looked really good. I think it was the New England game we kind of highlighted that like kind of laser ball he can play.
Yeah.
The
thing that bothered me about when they did it on this game is like you have 5 defensive players in the back, especially in the first half, and I'm just referencing the first half. But I'm like, you have 5 defensive players in the back. Why are you passing it to switch fields?
Yeah.
Switch it up front. Like, why are you passing it back? And then in the second half, like, I mean, you just started the second half and you're why?
Yeah.
Why? There's so many other open players. But I'm asking why, but I know why. It's because Philadelphia was pressuring so
Yeah,
much.
just pressuring the heck out of
So,
us.
if Atlanta takes note of that and they see that, like, we could be in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I really hope we just kind of start with a more aggressive formation, like that 4-4-2. That way, like if they do press, which we saw, like not quite to the same level as Philly, but we saw Cincinnati, New England press us into even our own corners. But the movement off the ball and the passing, got us out of those tight spaces and led us to counterattacks. So hopefully, we're able to get back to that style. I don't think we'll see this 5-4-1 formation probably the rest of the
That's fun.
season.
Yeah. Keep an eye on Fuchs. See how his stamina is looking throughout the game. I mean, even going back to that 83rd minute highlight where Philadelphia was building that counterattack, I just saw Fuchs sprint from like the halfway mark all the way back to the goalie box. And I'm like, man, I would just be out of it. Like, I would be calling for a sub right after that run.
Yeah.
And he didn't even do anything. He just ran back just to cover the empty goal box.
Yeah.
You gotta be tired after runs like that. Just gotta be.
Yeah.
His age, you gotta be. It's gotta be harder to recover from.
Yeah, it definitely does. And especially like if this is going to be a more physical match against Atlanta, I'm a little worried about him because some of the highlights we saw here and when I was rewatching the game and just some mental notes I've kind of taken over the past couple games is he kind of gets bodied off the ball pretty easily.
Yeah.
For a player coming from the Premier League, which is a very physical league, for me personally, it seems like he gets just bodied a little bit too much.
Throw an elbow up or something.
Absolutely. Go up for the, do the old, header trick where you're going up for the header and the elbow just flays wide instead of at your side.
Yeah.
It was an accident.
Cobra Kai.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all from me. I think it's all from you. Well, any other notes you want to add?
No, that's it. Let's just I'm also curious to see how the turnout for Atlanta fans.
Oh yeah, that's something we didn't really talk about yet. The last 3 home games, especially you and I were both at the LA game and we talked about it on the episode. There was maybe 4 LA fans there. When I went to the New England and Cincinnati game, I don't recall seeing any away fans there. And it's a further travel,
Right.
several hours, even just by plane, to get to Charlotte from those cities. But Atlanta, super short flight, 4-hour drive, a huge fan, let's call it, top 2 fan bases in the league. They're gonna travel. We're definitely gonna see a supporter section for Atlanta.
Yeah. And before Charlotte came, you were an Atlanta fan.
Well, I lived in Atlanta.
Right. So curious to see how many jerseys you're going to be wearing at that game.
No, I never
on the
bought.
outcome.
I never bought a jersey. Never went to a game. Just watched every now and then. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Really looking forward to it. 1:30 game. Just ends in time for me to make up our pickup game at 5.
It's anything like your sprinting has been in the game, you'll be late.
All right, well, that's going to be it for this episode. Don't forget to follow our socials at offsides_CLTFC. And also feel free to email us any of your thoughts on the Atlanta game, and we will talk about them on the podcast next time. Our email address will be up on our socials. And if you like the podcast, share it with a friend, leave a review, 5 stars. And if you don't like the podcast, then quit listening.
Yeah, just let us know how much you don't like it by leaving a 5-star hate review.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we live off those. All right, we will catch you guys next week after we beat Atlanta 3-0.